So Courtney and Jeff, first, thank you guys very much.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah. So RingCentral, we're going to talk about RingCentral. We're going to talk about RingCentral as a market leader in UCaaS, CCaaS. We want to talk about really, and I'll start with you, Courtney, on this topic.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about RingCentral. Tell us about why RingCentral is considered a market leader. Gartner Magic Quadrant. You guys are innovating further on the CCaaS side. I mean, global clients utilize you, utilize your platform, and you're out there and you're fighting some of the biggest competition in the world. I mean, Microsoft's coming in this space hard. You see a lot of bots that are coming out there and agents that are coming out there. CCaaS is really that people workforce in an automated manner. So, when you look at this, the world's changing,
Hmm.
and CCaaS is kind of a center stone on that voice interaction, that personal interaction, and it's really telling this story of, okay, what did I say on the call? What did I want to get out of the call? Did I get it out of the call? Am I more effective, less effective? And by the way, what is my follow-up methodology? And is it sales pitch? Is it a support model? Whatever it is, if you utilize UCaaS, CCaaS as a model and strategy, which you guys are really focused on building, it can evolve you as a person. It can evolve you as a business. Because I've often found myself reading back through my own scripts going, wow, that AI generated kind of recap on my conversation. And I'm like, I think I need to change that. You know what I mean? Like, no joke. I'm like,
Yeah.
did I say that right? Or I didn't think I said it intelligently. So I'm trying to like build a better me. And it's crazy. I think the world is more in front, it's in front of you now,
Hmm.
and it's in a way in which you're seen differently. And I think individuals can evolve differently if they actually listen to the way that they project themselves through their
Absolutely.
words. And it's pretty amazing the concept of CCAS and UCAS and where it's evolved to. Because 15, 20 years ago, when I saw it sort of evolve through voice over IP to where now it's workforce automation, it's engagement, it's upselling, transacting, growing, building, supporting, different experience level. It really is all the above. And so
Yeah.
really, if you can start off by giving just a crisp background on Ring Central, why you're here, and what you love about the company, and then the innovation in the AI, and that entire story.
Absolutely. So thank you for having us. I've personally been with RingCentral for 7 years, so I love the story overall as you speak. And when you're talking about why RingCentral and how we've evolved in the marketplace, it comes down to our core, which is the phone, video, and fax that we started with, and then layered on top of it. So we're not staying stale in the market and only going out with a commodity. Now we're looking at, we rebranded from message, video, phone to AI meets trusted communication, to RingEX, which is how our employees communicate with one another, to what you were speaking about, contact center. So our own RingCX, which is customer experience. And now we're threading it all together, and we're layering on that AI component that I don't think people are fearful of. It's what's the vision of. And so I think RingCentral is a great story that we're showing what that vision looks like. We're kind of cutting through the noise of, here, give your employees what they need to use to be efficient, like our AI notes on call. I can actively listen now when I'm on a call with Randy. You might sound like what you called yourself, but my notes will capture that after the fact, and that's fine. But I can also choose to edit that back before I go send it. I don't need to sit here and take notes. And then when you're talking about a contact center piece, now we're layering in additional AI that gives post-call sentiment, right? Just as a example that goes back and scores overall. So that's just a very brief story of how we've gotten here. But it has been a lot of fun, especially within the last couple of years. You're talking about competitors in the market. I mean, Microsoft Teams came on strong during COVID,
Yeah.
and everybody's just sitting here with, well, I have Teams, I have some other vendors that I'm not going to name names because I'm
Yeah.
sure, but Teams is a big powerhouse, right? And they just came in and took over. So what's neat is we are not competing against Teams. There's nothing we do that competes against Teams. We're actually going to market and completing Teams. You don't have to use our video. We like it, but if you like Teams, keep your Teams and we'll embed right into it. That's actually one of our huge differentiators in the market, because we're a truly embedded client, which doesn't mean you have to buy all the extra licensing through Teams itself. So just a few of the differentiators, and then 9 years in the Magic Quadrant says a lot as well as a leader. So we're really, really proud of being able to meet all the markets and continuing to invest in our innovative products.
Couldn't agree more.
Can you talk a little bit more about your integration with Teams and why it's necessary or recommended they go with a provider like you versus directly with Teams? You know, we know they have outages quite a bit. I know that's one reason, but can you expand more on those benefits of collaborating with you guys?
Sure. One of the statistics that's often quoted is that people use Teams for meetings, they use Teams for collaboration, but a lot of customers do not want to use Teams for the voice network itself
Right.
because Teams will offer a voice network. They are, by the way, increasing their prices this year to be able to add these voice components to it, whether it be the phone client component or just a ringing or a dial plan that rides on top of that. So people find that they like to utilize providers who have a very strong reputation of being able to provide a good, solid communications, extremely reliable communications, and a backup plan.
Sure.
So our embedded dialer, for example, provides you all the telephony capabilities that RingCentral puts within its own client. Yet, if Teams goes down, our client stays up. So we're continuing to operate, continuing to make and place calls, because I think the statistic I saw is despite all the other tools that are out there for communication, 68% of conversations today, or 68% of business transactions occurs over voice communication. So
Yeah.
it's still an extremely important part of the entire business ecosystem.
So, Jeff, when you think about AI and how you mean, listen, you're a solutions engineer,
Hmm.
you sit in front of clients all the time, you're storytelling, and you're talking different verticals. Okay, so let's just take legal for a vertical.
Hmm.
Okay, let's take legal for a vertical. Let's go deep into how you would solutions engineer a legal customer to where they would take advantage of the scripting,
Hmm.
they would take advantage of the data storage. They would provide a better experience to their client because you're sitting in front of legal law firms and companies all the time that are looking for that level of detail. So, how would you address that through RingCentral's AI slash delivery platform on both the CCaaS and the UCAS sides? In that case, it's mainly going to be UCAS. In some cases,
It
it
can
might be,
be. It
yeah,
can be CCAS.
yeah, it really
I
can.
see it being applied in a lot of different situations. But what you're mentioning kind of brings to mind our RingSense capabilities. And what RingSense is, this is a tool that we created where we can record telephone calls, do AI analysis of those calls, so being able to provide sentiment back to people. Going back to what you're talking
Yeah.
about, how you didn't like how you sounded after it came back to you.
Yeah.
Well, the sentiment will be able to encourage people to speak slower or ask more questions or whatever is relevant to the conversation, being able to capture sentiment of the client itself. And in the case of a legal firm, we have found that RingSense is extremely popular because they're able to capture all those notes, all the details. After we capture those notes, AI will compose a letter for you to be able to click and say, send that letter back to that client, summarizing everything that was just discussed. It also allows them to, with any level of compliance they may need to have in terms of maintaining data, maintaining records, and things of that nature. So that's been it was actually a product called RingSense for Sales when it first came out because it does tie into CRM
Yeah.
systems and allows you to communicate back and forth and do an analysis on sales folks' performance against their sales records or sales performance against what they're saying to their clients. So they're able to uh, in, improve their communication skills while they're on the phone talking to folks. But the product got so popular, we dropped the sales part, just call it RingSense now, because people like law firms, for example, were really, really interested in the product. It's been very successful for us.
I love that.
Can
Thank
I
you.
can I piggyback on that?
Go
I have
ahead.
Yeah, no,
another.
please
So
jump on
I
in.
feel like with RingSense and just any of our AI we're coming out with, it's really about the story and application because as Jeff was mentioning, RingSense for sales, I mean, trust me, when I was trying to tell people what that meant, they go, yeah, but we're not talking to a sales organization. Why would we talk about this? But it's had this unique application across the board that's been really fun to see from the data hygiene that you just mentioned. That's big with insurance companies, being able to write that back. Something that it also does is score videos too. So videos and calls. So anything that you do there. And there's there's a really fun story. So we're talking about UCaaS and CCaaS, so RingEX and RingCX, leveraging RingSense. So we can do this in both UCaaS and CCaaS. You can pick one or the other. You can have it all across the board, it doesn't matter. So in this case study, it was, or not case study, I'm sorry, a sales process. It was a storage facility, which is funny because I think it was our friends at Metel that was using a storage facility
Yeah.
as well. But they were having these angry customers call in to their contact center because it's customer experience, their main corporate. Just every time I go to my local storage and I call them, I'm getting cussed out. And I don't understand because I talk to you all and you're lovely people. Okay, well, how do you manage as a large storage facility, all these local little storage units, and everybody has, a phone on the desk? You don't know how to monitor that. They can't be part of a contact center. How do you ever get that sentiment? I'm not going to sit and listen to recorded calls. We don't have time for that. It pulled that data. They actually put trackers in to track key cuss words that customers were saying. And let me tell you, it went off the board, and those automatic scoring went in the red real quick. So they're able to identify who it was, when it was, which locations, not needing to put those stores into a contact center environment. They can't thrive in that. So I think that's a really random and cool application, but it helps you kind of see it beyond a sales revenue conversation. So anyways, take that as you will. We apply it in multiple verticals, but I think that one's a fun one.
Awesome.
Thank
When
you.
you're talking about verticals, are there certain industries that are adopting AI faster? And what are those? When you're solving for problems and solutions, what industries have stood out to you, vertical wise?
Well, we mentioned the legal area.
Ye-
That stood out a lot. Surprisingly, I wasn't expecting that.
Time tracking. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
You get a lawyer, they're like, okay, I got a new contract with you. It's going to be 3 years.
And that's
They'll
another
map
point.
it to 3 years.
Yeah.
So, the question is, do they always remember the conversation that allowed it to get to 3 years? The answer is no. And
Exactly.
so if you really have good tracking, you have a law firm that you're holding accountable in the data tracking, they get scared. Lawyers don't want to be, they don't want to be put on point. They'll bill you $650 to $1,000 an hour, and then they'll tell you they forgot and walk away. But let's be real. So there's part of that challenge, and then you got to get down to the real effects. And the positive side of this is you can track back to any conversation, go over keywords inside of that. No different than you could do when they give all the data to a discovery engine. It's got to pull out keywords out of it, gather all the data. So there's a value to that.
Exactly.
Pros and cons. Defendant versus prosecutor, and so defendant versus the person filing a complaint.
Sure. And of course, sales organizations. We're
Yeah.
seeing that being
With
adopted
CRM
gradually.
and
Mostly because our
monitoring that
RingSense is
activity.
bi-directionally communicating with their CRM system. So
Okay.
I can capture what's said. I don't have to be a salesperson going in there, oh yeah, I got to put my notes in on what was just said. We'll do that for you. We'll just push that straight into your Salesforce, your Dynamics, your HubSpot, whatever it is you're using. We can do that. And if we don't write to it now, we've got APIs that you can create your own integration and be able to write to your own CRM as need be. So certainly in sales organizations, but honestly, I've seen RingSense get purchased for restaurant chains because they want to have an assessment of the receptionist answering the calls and how are they doing? Are they getting a positive response? Is the AI seeing that their receptionists are always answering with a positive frame of mind, a polite voice, that sort of thing? So just endless uses for this.
You know what's crazy is I was just thinking about this. I couldn't imagine coming home, having the teenager that talks back to me, but it be recorded as a conversation, be able to script the conversation and hand it back to him. I mean, it would kind of be amazing. I just thought about that. I'm like, okay, well, what's some of this conversation? Like, did I just have that with my daughter? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I really did. Like, no, but I mean, you're really being recorded. People don't always like that. There's a positive and negative effect. I think when you look at it per role, it's very important. It's very important per role. Does the role discuss so much within an organization that there could be complexities if it was recorded to come back? But then there's the majority of roles which fall into execution roles. And I've seen this amazing use of both UCaaS and CCaaS over my last 10 years in watching it evolve into where, think about Copilot, think about OpenAI. It's using data, but now it's starting to use voice data fed into it. So people don't realize that all these voice calls and all this scripting is starting to be fed into these engines. And so it's pretty amazing the direction we're going with this. So I think the one question I would ask you on the AI and the use of AI is, where do you think RingCentral's superpower will be within the use of that data and that insights and that information to be considered a powerhouse, no different than an OpenAI, no different than a another leader in the AI world, because you have that much data, you have that much access to information. It is being masked so nobody can access it. It's being stored, at flight and at rest,
Right.
highest encryption levels. At the same time, you know, how do you guys plan to use that? What's your superpower using that? How do you differentiate? What is that?
Well, let's be clear that our customers are using this information. It's being provided to them through our AI
Yeah.
tools, but we're not using our customers' data. We are maintaining security. That data is theirs. We're not going to use that. Now, we have methodologies to train the AI, the large language models. We have methodologies to do that, but we're not utilizing customer data for that. And we've got, I don't know, it's a 12-page document that customers can review and be able to understand that. But that being said, we are certainly looking to take these types of tools and be able to optimize the business transactions in such a way that customers will find them indispensable. For example, we're working on uh, an agent intelligent virtual assistant for the UCaaS side. Not, and you always think of that for CCaaS,
Yeah.
and we have it for CCaaS too. But we're developing for UCaaS. Why? Because if I can go in and build an automated attendant, call it, but it's
Yeah.
utilizing AI, and I can do it in 6 simple steps, have it built in about 10 to 20 minutes, depending upon how elaborate you want it to be, and it works immediately, that can save
Well, I mean,
customers
that's going to be a
tons of
down
money.
market. Well, that's going to be a down market home run because most people don't want to pay for UCaaS licensing. So there's a certain subset of people that will pay for, I mean, CCaaS license. They'll pay for the UCaaS licensing if it
Right.
gives it. Now it's a subset of it, but it's that small business that needs that should utilize it, that wants to create the scripts or wants to create the interaction.
Right. So those types of tools being developed, and we're honestly, the market's so new. We're putting things out there, seeing if it works well,
Yeah.
and pulling it back if it doesn't. Or our iteration of our AI assistant that we just came out with, that took us a good 6 to 9 months before we finally got it to where we felt like it was worthy of being marketable and used in the marketplace. So what you're going to find is we're going to learn from those things and continue to enhance to be able to add tools where it's valuable to our customers. Because
Great.
last thing you want is AI for the sake of AI.
So one thing you said, I want to make sure. So security and compliance wise, RingCentral is not using that data, distributing that data to any platform, gathering data back at all. So you're not tapping into an AI platform to gather information to pull into the data sets. It's solely your voice data, nobody else's voice data, nobody touches this. You guys use that to create a better experience on the CCaaS product sets and UCaaS product sets, but you don't use that for anything else. Meaning you tighten up the way
Right.
scripting is, you tighten
Sure.
up the way you
We're
communicate.
certainly going to be utilizing the best of the best in terms of large language models that are
Yeah.
out there for us, ChatGPT or Gemini, where the case may be, for the various applications. But it is going to vary. Um, but the data itself is customers' data. We don't want them to ever think that we're going to be taking their information, utilizing that for the sake of betterment of something
It's
beyond the
interesting,
customer's needs.
and it's
But we are
interesting.
definitely going to make sure that the AI model continues to get smarter, if you will.
Yeah, large language model. So it's interesting because if you see some of the things that the biggest companies in the world are doing, they're 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 building the masking of the data to use to go to the open AIs to bring back better results
Hmm.
than if it was in their platform mode. And I think it's interesting because Ring has such a valuable platform with so many people. You kind of are your own LLM in a sense. You are your own, open AI platform in a sense for the voice side of it, and you're maturing in that direction. It's interesting to see what's going to happen in the future between your interaction with these other platforms to make it that much more richer and valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you see it play out?
I think you're going to see that really as we open up our API sets even further to be able to provide richer integrations to all these various CRM platforms or other types of platforms that are out there. We are introducing some components that allows HTML developer to very quickly build within a week, maybe two, a full integration to a private CRM if they have the RESTful APIs on their side to tie into ours. And it's going to be completely pre-built for them so they can take kind of standard pieces and build this out very easily for themselves.
So it's basically those that can do like a low code, no code, or they have
Mhm.
somebody on their side. You can hand them the data and build a better environment faster.
Yes,
And build that
exactly.
story out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
All right.
One last question. Can you talk about a case study involving AI that you solved with a client?
Got one off the top of your head?
No.
I mean,
Or an example of one, a type
Let's
of a
see.
solution that
so many. It's just
could help a client.
I'm going to let you take this.
You got the
I like
hard.
that. I like
Hey,
that.
take a drink and then
I
start.
mean, I thought
There you go, girl. Hey, I'll even take one with you, and I don't drink whiskey. There you go.
that's how we know we're Texas girls at heart, right
Make a
there.
face, I promise.
Getting back to Houston.
Oh my gosh.
No,
There you
I mean,
go.
so it's fun. I might answer this differently if that's okay. Because I've
You
been
can answer it however you would like.
only because I mean, I've given a couple of case studies, but I've also just listened to some different verticals. It's almost going back to that question is getting outside of the box and understanding your vision of the not just the departments that you manage and not just IT stack as a whole, but like what is the company's vision and how do we make our employees work more productively, efficiently, and smarter? Give them the creative time back. So there is an interesting now. Epic does kind of a similar thing with the ambient product, but you can do this with RingSense. So a unique case study for a RingSense product would be a doctor in the doctor's office turns on their live transcription as if they're on a phone call. I mean, you can do that just like you were talking about with your son. And now you're getting notes automatically taken from your doctor's visit. And now you just gave back what that industry calls pajama time. I don't know if that's used other places. I mean, I liked that term, but I love my pajama time. I know that. So if it meant that I don't have to go back and write that all down, I mean, that's fantastic. So now think of it beyond healthcare. And, it doesn't have to be healthcare. We've sold RingSense to state and local governments. It's in schools, recruiter departments. I mean, you name it, it's kind of revolutionizing. So it's almost more take back, what do you envision people doing with extra time? What do they do now? So it's not so much product and use case. I think it's more thinking through the vision and how to apply it.
Awesome. Thank you.
So last question. So Jeff,
Okay.
one of my favorite questions. I haven't asked it today yet.
Oh.
So what is your personal superpower when engaging a customer? When you think about it from a business perspective, what is your superpower?
Oh. This isn't talking about RingCentral. This is me.
No, but it's actually you talking about RingCentral. Don't you work there?
I do.
Don't you engage with clients all the time?
I do. I think probably would be the fact that if you can't tell by looking at me, I've been in this industry 40 some odd years, and RingCentral has to be probably the most innovative company I've ever worked for. You find that features and capabilities are released at least 40 to 50 a quarter.
Wow.
And it's could be something huge, could be something small, but it's always dictated by our customers and their demands. So, for example, we will take our list of support calls we get on how to program something or do a move, add, or change, and we'll analyze that as a company and say, why do we get so many calls on this? Let's change this so it's easier for our customers. So saves us money. We don't take as many support calls, but it also makes it customers much more happier because they're able to do that. I guess my superpower is being able to say, I can honestly communicate that this is some of the most innovative stuff I've ever done, and I really appreciate RingCentral's approach to how they manage and work with their customers. It's nice to be able to do that as convincingly as possible.
Yeah, well, it's a skill set. You're obviously been in the position for a long time because you solutions engineer clients great. How about you, Courtney?
Oh, I can attest to his superpowers. But I would even just say the solution engineers in general, along with Jeff, while we're a large company, everybody listens when they're on calls and really tries to pivot. So we don't just go in after product. That's, I guess, what I was alluding to before. Yeah. We really don't product dump. And I think Jeff and our other engineers do a really good job listening and go into problem-solving mode and then pick out what fits, so it's essentially mapped out for them. And if we don't have an answer, it's always, hey, I don't know, I'll go back and look. Nobody's trying to be the smartest person in the room.
I love that. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this the